Brock Purdy to Ricky Pearsall. Wow, what a connection at 49ers practice today. They just wore out the deep part of the field in between the hashes, starting from their very first connection. And this was the very first play of 49ers team drills. Ricky Pearsall caught the football, sprinted off toward the end zone. As soon as he caught it, it was only green grass between him and the goal line. And he raised his arm into the air in celebration. I got to tell you guys all about the 5 catches that Pearsall had at practice today. But first, why don't we watch some of the footage? There is Mr. Purdy himself, D lineman on the sleds today. Always have to get footage when the D linemen are working on the sleds. Here you can see Alfred Collins and Sebastian Valdez, 2 rookies, getting that get-off drill in under Chris Kasarik for the 49ers defensive line. Here you've got Russell Gage. He continues to be somebody who I think is going to make that 53-man roster to raise the floor of the 49ers receiver position. Jordan Watkins was back at practice today. He missed only a day. Wait till you hear about the touchdown that Jordan Watkins caught from Brock Purdy today on the heels of that really, really nice Ricky Pearsall connection from Brock Purdy. Of course, we've got to talk a little bit more about George Kittle. He always deserves more love because he is, at age 32, he might have a career year. He is playing really, really well. I think that Kittle wasn't healthy last offseason, so I think that he's in much better position now for a good start to the 2025 season just because he's enjoyed full health and a good workout runway. Speaking of a guy who is enjoying a better runway for 2025, big number 71, Trent Williams. Maybe the best shape that he's been in several years. Cut some weight, moving really well. That's great for his ankle health. Big Trent out on that practice field for the 49ers today. They were missing their right tackle, Colton McKivitz. Austin Pleasance, who started a couple games for the 49ers to close last season, did fill in for Colton at that right tackle spot. Kyle Shanahan did not speak today, so we didn't have an official injury update on Colton McKivitz, but he was out of practice. So was Nick Bosa. I'm guessing it was just a scheduled day off for Nick Bosa. Tomorrow is a player's day off for the 49ers, so you could double up with a couple days to allow these 49ers players to stay fresh. And it very well could have been the same type of situation for Colton McKivitz since he is now an established veteran for the 49ers. As I mentioned, Watkins was back. No Kevin Givens at practice today for the 49ers along the defensive line, but he's one of the longest tenured 49ers. He's been around since Nick Bosa came in 2019, so could just be a double day off for Kevin Givens, given the fact that the 49ers don't have to come into the facility tomorrow. All right, let's go through everything that happened at practice today. Starting, of course, with Ricky Pearsall. And how about we mix in that Jordan Watkins touchdown? Because what Brock Purdy did on a 2-play stretch late when the 49ers were running move the ball was very aesthetically pleasing to observe. First, he hit Ricky Pearsall on a deep out. This was coming after all of those routes in between the hashes downfield. I think the defense was set up for it. Ricky ran a nice route about 20, 25 yards downfield. Purdy put the football right where it had to be. Pearsall got both toes in bounds. That was all good. Very next play, I think the defense was a little bit more focused on the sidelines, on the perimeter. So Brock Purdy took advantage of that, and he pump faked to the right side toward the sideline. And that pump fake moved the safety. He went back left. It was a post to Jordan Watkins, the rookie receiver. The ball split the safety and the cornerback. Jordan Watkins hauled it in stride, and sprinted toward the end zone. A touchdown that I think was very much set up by the fact that Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall were using all parts of the field over their 5 connections today. Purdy's obviously elite when it comes to processing. I think he's elite as far as looking off defenders. He knows how to play the cerebral game, the chess match, if you will, on the field. And today we got to see another example of him excelling in that regard. In fact, we've seen so much of this from Brock Purdy over the course of the past couple practices because the 49ers have moved to move the ball work. They're not just doing play install work. Now they're actually scrimmaging out on that practice field. Down and distance is a thing. So what happens the play prior can impact the next play. Like defenses and offenses are now engaging in that chess match, and I think that's where Brock Purdy brings so much of his value. The fact that he can be the commander on the field that is able to identify the mismatches and capitalize on them. Well, we absolutely saw that today. Back to Ricky Pearsall's first catch of the day. That was a little bit of a post, kind of like the one that Jordan Watkins caught, except there was no pump fake, there was no look off like Brock Purdy executed to Jordan Watkins later in practice. But that first catch from Ricky Pearsall, he got by Trey Brown, who's the veteran cornerback. The 49ers signed him from the Seahawks. Free agent this offseason. Trey is one of the many in the competition to be the third cornerback for the 49ers. Upton Stout, the rookie, obviously making a big case for early playing time. We're looking at Upton probably as nickelback for San Francisco. Trey Brown has more outside cornerback experience, although he has been working at the inside as well for the 49ers. But the very first play, he couldn't keep up with Ricky Pearsall. Then a couple plays later, Christian McCaffrey hurdled Jason Pinnock. It wasn't quite the Arizona hurdle week 4 of that 2023 season, but it was still Christian McCaffrey getting off the ground, picking up a couple extra yards. He's, again, looked really, really good. Christian is healthy again. Christian is motivated. You know, I could put Christian and George Kittle into similar categories. I know that George didn't suffer a season-ending injury in 2024, but remember George Kittle was down to like 215, 220 pounds last offseason after the core muscle surgery. He had to build all that weight back up. He wasn't really practicing over the course of the 2024 offseason, so he was a little bit behind the 8 ball entering the season. Ended up being a fine season for George, but he's had a full runway. Christian McCaffrey's had a full runway to go. We could talk about Trent Williams having the full runway to go with no holdout. All good stuff for the 49ers with some of these true A-list star veterans. Now, another veteran player who we do need to talk a little bit more about because of the absence is Jauan Jennings. Today was the 5th practice in a row without Jauan. They say it's the calf issue that he also dealt with over the course of OTAs. But Kyle Shanahan wouldn't really commit on a timeline, wouldn't commit at all on a timeline. They didn't want to answer the question about it when he spoke yesterday. So just be on Jauan Jennings' watch. I think that would be prudent at this time. We just got to figure out how long he's going to be out, what the deal here is with his calf, and obviously Jauan Jennings also wants a new contract from the 49ers, but we just haven't seen him out on the practice field now for 5 straight practices. All right, I'm going through some of the notes, and there's so much Brock to Ricky over the middle of the field because they were wearing that part of the field out. Then Tanner Mordecai made a really, really nice throw deep to Andy Isabella, but there was pass interference on the play. Eli Apple, the veteran cornerback, grabbed Isabella at the very last second. It was a nice rainbow throw, 45, 50 yards downfield. I think Isabella would have hauled it in probably in stride, and maybe Eli Apple panicked, and that's why he committed the pass interference. One interception happened today at practice. Carter Bradley, who I guess we could say the 49ers' 4th string quarterback, they just brought him in a couple days ago, threw a pick to Saran Neil. Neil plays DB, plays at that corner / nickel position. He could play some safety too. He's mainly a specialist, somebody who Brant Boyer was excited to bring in. Brant Boyer spoke today, by the way. It was his press conference turned for the 49ers, special teams coordinator. Boyer was in the AFC East for a long time, and Saran Neil played for Buffalo. So Brant Boyer was exposed to Saran Neil, one of the best special teams aces in the game. If he's needed in a pinch, he can play DB. He picked off Carter Bradley today, had a nice run back, but I think that Saran Neil, that's the George Odom now for the 49ers, right? He's going to be somebody who's in on a lot of special teams tackles, is executing that special teams coordinator's vision. And if Boyer had to deal with Saran Neil, watching him on tape, doing all his coverage stuff over the years with Buffalo, I think that Brant Boyer is a good source on whether or not this guy can play, and I think the 49ers are excited to have him on the football team. Watkins made his return to practice today with a catch on a slant from Mac Jones, and then later on he caught that deeper post for the touchdown from Brock Purdy. And you know, I mentioned Eli Apple committing the pass interference on Andy Isabella earlier. It is worth noting that Eli Apple bounced back with a nice pass breakup against Isaiah Hodgins. 49ers tried to give Ricky Pearsall the ball on a running play, kind of a sweep. That one didn't work out. Richie Grant, haven't called his name all too much over the course of this camp. That's another one of the safeties they signed. Not as good as Jason Pinnock. Pinnock's the first teamer. Richie Grant's been getting snaps of the twos. He was able to bottle up some of the, it wasn't trickery, it was just a sweep. But Richie Grant, good perimeter defense for the second team 49ers. I mentioned the 49ers tackle shuffle, if you will. Austin Pleasance, the veteran who they brought in at the end of last season, he filled in when they needed him to close that injury-riddled year. He's playing first-team right tackle right now. Today he did. Colton McKivitz, it might have just been a day off. There's no reason to panic on that front until we know more. But it was interesting to me because the 49ers had been plugging Spencer Berford in whenever Trent Williams had a day off. That's obviously at left tackle. Spencer Berford stayed at left tackle today for the second team. Williams was at practice. He didn't move over to right tackle to fill in for McKivitz on that first team, which leads me to either believe or speculate. I don't know how strongly I feel about this because I want to ask Kyle Shanahan about it, but perhaps the 49ers will run a 2 backup tackle arrangement on the 53-man roster or use the practice squad for one of the tackles. By that I mean you don't want to make Spencer Berford play on the right side. You feel that he's much more comfortable on the left, so you keep him at left tackle, and then you work Austin Pleasance into the mix as your dedicated backup right tackle. Perhaps that is the idea for the 49ers. Andre Dillard is still on PUP, so we're still waiting for him, the former first-round pick, the veteran, to enter the fray. We've seen him working off on the side a couple times, but as of right now, it looks like Berford is the lead backup for left tackle. Pleasance is the lead backup for the right tackle position. And I'll say Berford yesterday, this is a play that I didn't get to tell you about. Isaac Garendo had a nice sweep to the left side, and he was a good 20, 30 yards downfield. Leading the charge was Spencer Berford, just moving. And, you know, this guy played left tackle at the University of Texas, San Antonio. Obviously played that position well enough to be drafted in the 4th round by the 49ers a few years back. I know he struggled at right guard for the 49ers, but consider that might have been a fish out of water situation, moving not only from left to right, but also moving from tackle to guard. They clearly see Berford as a tackle now, and I think that they believe that he's much more comfortable on that left side, his original left side, than the right. And to see him sprinting out in front of the play, good mobile blocking for Spencer Berford on the outside zone, well, that means that he fits with what the 49ers want schematically. And today in center field, we saw Mike Shanahan, Kyle's dad, and John Lynch watching practice together. And Mike is, of course, one of the great implementers of the outside zone rushing attack. So I'm sure that when he saw the tape of Spencer Berford yesterday out in front of Isaac Garendo, Mike Shanahan smiled, and he watches a lot of 49ers tape. He knows what he's talking about. But Lynch and Shanahan, his former coach, remember John after his time with the Buccaneers went to Denver and played under Mike Shanahan. And Lynch loves watching practice from that safety's vantage point in center field. And today Mike Shanahan was able to watch part of practice with him. Marquise Seagull, 49ers rookie safety, he is not afraid to hit. There was a play where Jake Tonjes, tight end, got the ball, and this was on right near the sideline. And we saw Marquise Seagull, who's 5th round pick, crazy athleticism. You know that he's off the charts with his 4.37. A lot of 49ers fans are excited about what he can bring to the table from just the leaping ability and the burst and the running ability, but you got to make sure the guy's a football player too. And today he thudded up, was a much larger tight end, a larger body than him in Jake Tonjes, and I think that's always a good sign. Early in training camp, you don't get to see tackling to the ground until the preseason games. So during these camps, you want to at least get a hint of some of the bravery that these guys might have. Are they timid when it comes to putting their shoulder in there? Are they ready to thud these players up? And I think a couple rookies, it's been really good returns early on for the 49ers. Marquise Seagull and then Nick Martin, the linebacker, has not been afraid of violence, has not been afraid of contact. And I think that Robert Saleh was quick to point that out yesterday. Brock Purdy also threw a touchdown today to Christian McCaffrey. I mentioned a hurdle a little bit earlier for Christian McCaffrey. Well, he ran an angle route out of the backfield today, and it reminded me of the Rose Bowl back when Christian McCaffrey was with Stanford, and he had like something like 400 all-purpose yards. It was insane in the Rose Bowl. Took back a punt, and on the very first play from scrimmage, they ran Christian McCaffrey on a little angle route, and he just outran everybody into the end zone. It looked very, very familiar to me. Trivia, though, that Rose Bowl that was played in January of 2016, New Year's Day of that 2016 calendar year. Guess who was on the other side of Christian McCaffrey, like facing him on the other team? Two future 49ers players, George Kittle and C.J. Beathard. And it wasn't a good day for George and C.J. Don't remind him of that. Sometimes I'll tell George about that Rose Bowl, and he doesn't talk to me for like a week after that point. So Christian McCaffrey reminded me of that Rose Bowl today. Kicking competition resumed today. Greg Joseph, 4 of 4. Jake Moody, 3 of 4. The only miss for either was Moody missing on the 50-plus yarder. They kept on backing further and further up, and Jake Moody missed. It was, if you're looking toward the goal post, because I was looking the reverse way, it was right hash, 50-plus yards. Jake Moody was not able to make the pick. Last couple plays of practice, we saw Jacob Robinson. I've called his name like 4 times now. It's worth paying attention. This is the undrafted free agent cornerback out of BYU. Nice pass breakup on Jordan Watkins. So this was shortly after Jordan Watkins caught that touchdown from Brock Purdy. Jacob Robinson was in there for a pass breakup. It was one of the backup quarterbacks that threw the football on the play, though, for the 49ers. So wasn't Purdy throwing that one. Still, another PBU for Jacob Robinson, who's making a strong case to stay in this building after cutdown day, which isn't for about another month or so. And then the very last play of practice, this might please some of you to hear because you've been asking about this guy, was Mac Jones connecting with Tariq Owens, T.O.'s son. Just a nice little slant on that last play of practice. So, productive day out here, productive block out here. I know that we're in the dog days of August at this point, but the 49ers continue to show some passion when they're practicing. I talked about Pearsall raising his arm in the air. He was excited. Watkins was excited after his touchdown. I think the 49ers are still getting after it. The energy remains the same. And I'd said that Bosa didn't practice today. I don't think I've been talking about Nick Bosa enough. If you think I should talk about Nick Bosa more, go ahead and let me know in the comments section. But he's been really, really good. And I think, I mentioned Trent Williams is in good shape, so they're having nice battles. Bosa and McKivitz have been going at it. I know neither practiced today, but yesterday, for example, McKivitz stonewalled Bosa in a one-on-one, and then Bosa got by him a couple times in team drills. All you want to see is a competitive practice if you follow the 49ers, and they're delivering competitive practices. They've now finished another padded block. Tomorrow I'll be back here, so make sure you tune in for the reaction because I'm going to talk to assistant coaches, but they're not going to practice tomorrow. So tomorrow is a really good day for intel because you get to talk to all these assistant coaches and get some of the information that we probably aren't able to glean because we're not sitting in meeting rooms and we're not going to be in the locker room until later this month. So we'll collect that info tomorrow and then be back out here on Monday for, I think, a 2-practice stretch. And I think that will be the end of the fan portion of practice. No fans today because Morgan Wallen's going to perform again. Did you guys see Morgan Wallen walked out yesterday with Steve Young and Barry Bonds here at Levi's Stadium? So there's going to be another concert tonight. Fans not allowed in the facility because of that today. They'll be back on Monday and Tuesday. And then maybe they do come to the joint practice with the Broncos on Thursday. And I know for a fact, if you go up and you read the San Francisco Standard, that's your homework today. Go sign up for the Standard. The article, I have a progress report on all the 49ers rookie defensive linemen up today, so you should go check that out. But Robert Saleh, for that article, he said, I can't wait till Denver comes into town because we could start getting a firmer measuring stick on where all these guys are. So, that is the news today here from Levi's Stadium. What a day for Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, Jordan Watkins back at practice. Another block is wrapped up. hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and go into that description, into the comment section. I'll pin it at the top. Sign up for the San Francisco Standard. That is the best 49ers coverage you are going to find.